With a song in my heart, the story of men and their music, of composers who really had a song in their hearts.
With a song in my heart for you.
Indigo, a composition that was to prove an important milestone in the career of a gentleman born Edward Kennedy Ellington, but better known to music fans the world over as Duke Ellington. For that blues number was the first song hit created by the Duke, only one of the many. Now let's see. The wee colored babe that was to be named Edward Kennedy Ellington was born in Washington on April 29, 1899. And as soon as he was tall enough to reach a piano, he commenced to pick out tunes. Naturally, his folks put him with a music teacher, who taught him the rudiments of the art of music. But when he was quite a kid, his teacher didn't always see eye to eye with his interpretation of the piano solos she had given him to learn.
Now let's hear that again, Edward. You sure seem to be playing a bunch of chords that are not quite according to the music.
Oh, it's nothing, ma'am. I just feel that some of those chords ain't quite as good as they could be.
Is that so? Well, play that piece again and as written. Who do you think you are, a junior edition of Beethoven? Go ahead.
Yes, miss.
Edward, you did the same thing again, only differently.
Guess I just can't help it, ma'am. I just gotta play the way it feels.
I'm afraid it looks like that to me, too. Oh, well, that'll be all for today.
Thank you, ma'am. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Edward. And don't forget to keep up your practice.
No, ma'am.
I'm afraid that boy'll always play things the way he wants to play them. He's got music in his very soul.
And that's how it came about that at the age of 18 or so, we found Duke organizing a small dance combination of his own. And for the next 3 years, he played many engagements, but mainly casual, mostly small time, just like hundreds of other combinations. But it's the old story. If you've got the goods... Well, one night he was playing in a small cabaret when songwriter Jimmy McHugh happened to catch him.
Say, Ted, that orchestra's playing music, but differently.
I'll say, Jimmy. Why, they're out of this world.
You're not telling me a thing. Excuse me. Oh, waiter,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a word with your band leader. Would you ask him to come over?
Oh, thank you, sir. Sure will.
You know, Ted, I'm thinking that this might be the combination I'm looking for my new show.
You want to see me, sir?
Yes, I do. Mr.
Ellington. Duke Ellington.
Well, let me introduce myself, Mr. Ellington. My name is McHugh.
Jimmy McHugh, the songwriter.
Jimmy McHugh. I'm sure glad to meet you.
Well, it goes for me, too. You know, Duke, I'm going to call you Duke.
Go right ahead. Everybody does.
Good. Well, Duke, I've got a new production opening in New York at the Cotton Club. I want a band and a band leader. How would you like the job?
At the Cotton Club? Why, Mr. McHugh, I'm already on my way.
And Jimmy McHugh's discovery arrived in New York and came, saw, and conquered it. For his was one of the most spectacular successes in the history of Broadway. He gave rhythm music new treatment with an originality and freshness that even New York had not seen hitherto. And not so long after this, when he turned songwriter, he gave us Sophisticated Lady.
They say into your lonely life romance came, and in this heart of yours burned a flame that flickered one day and died away. Then with disillusion deep in your eyes, you learn that fools in love soon grow wise. The years have changed you somehow. I see you now. Smoking, drinking, never thinking of tomorrow. Nonchalant, diamonds shining, dancing, dining with some man in a restaurant. Is that all you really want? No. Sophisticated lady, I know you miss the love you lost long ago. And when nobody is nigh, you cry.
He stayed at the Cotton Club for 5 years and became a must for all rhythm devotees. Music publisher Irving Mills quickly realized his possibilities and put him under a long-term contract.
Well, Duke, now that you've signed on the dotted line, I feel that this contract is going to prove a real moneymaker, mutually for Duke Ellington and Irving Mills.
I hope so, Irving.
I'm not hoping, Duke, I know. You've got a remarkable talent, and one that just must take you right to the top.
Well, Irving, I'll promise you one thing. You put your confidence in me. I'll do my best to see that I don't let you down.
And as the world knows, he didn't. For he not only became the world's most famous maestro of his time, but in addition, he reached the very pinnacle of songwriting fame. For in 1934, he gave us that magnificent number, Solitude. The American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers thought so highly of this song that they honored Duke Ellington with a special prize of $2,500 for his effort. And what he made out of it in royalties was just nobody's business. So, to the evergreen Solitude.
In my solitude, you haunt me with memories of days gone by. gloom everywhere. I sit and I stare. I know that I'll soon go mad in my solitude. I'm praying, dear Lord above, send back my love. I sit in my chair, I'm filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know that I'll soon go mad in my solitude. I'm praying, dear Lord above, send back my love.
Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is swing.
It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Oh, just give that rhythm everything you've got.
Oh, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
That was, of course, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. Just another Ellington hit. And the Duke was not only going places in the sphere of music, he was going places literally too. For he has itchy feet. He never seems to stay put. He must travel. So, in the early 30s, we find him in London, where his band was a positive sensation. One sunny morning, the Duke's business manager came to his room.
Duke, I thought we were a big hit in England, but now I know we are.
Well, come clean then. What's the excitement all about?
Duke, you're going to play for a king. In fact, His Majesty, the King of England.
No kidding?
No, sir, this is the real thing. Duke Ellington and his band are to do a command performance at Buckingham Palace.
Wow.
If anything was needed to set the seal of fame on the Duke, the command performance did it. And I might add that the King was one of the Duke's greatest admirers. In fact, he gathered probably the finest collection of Ellington's records in existence. But despite his enormous European success and personal popularity, the Duke didn't lose sight of composition. And when he wrote My Heart Sings, he gave the world another really beautiful hit.
All of a sudden my heart sings when I remember little things, the way you danced and hold me tight, the way you kiss and say goodnight, the crazy things we say and do, the fun it is to be with you, the magic thrill that's in your touch. Oh, darling, I love you so much. The secret way you press my hand,
and half surprised, the starlight gleaming in your eyes.
Remembering all these little things,
all of a sudden my heart sings. All of a sudden my heart sings.
After leaving England, and on the crest of a wave too, the Duke took his band to the continent, where he gave a series of concerts in France, Holland, and the Scandinavian countries. Wherever he appeared, he created a veritable furore. He was, in fact, truly an international celebrity. Returning triumphantly to London, he was interviewed by a leading music critic.
I understand, Mr. Ellington, you had a sensational tour of the continent.
Yes, it really was sensational.
Capacity business everywhere, I presume?
That's hardly the word for it. Why, when we reached Paris, it seemed as though the whole city turned out to greet us. We had to fight our way through admiring crowds wherever we went.
Yes, that just about confirms what I had already heard. Now tell me, did you like the continent?
Of course I did. It was marvelous. The people, the food, the ladies.
Talking of food, I understand you're quite a gourmet.
Yes, I am. I like good food, and believe me, those people on the continent know how to prepare it. They're artists.
I agree with you. Now, one other thing. Tell me, Mr. Ellington, how did you come by the name Duke?
I guess it goes way back to the days when I was a kid in Washington.
How's that?
Well, when I was about 14, I played the piano pretty well, and I became a bit of a tin god to some of my fans around the same age. Naturally, their adulation went to my head a trifle, and I guess I strutted my stuff a bit. What you call over here, swank. Result? After a while, the kids gave me the nickname the Duke, and it stuck. That's all.
And somehow it fits. Because the Duke does everything on the grand scale, almost regally. He likes the best of everything. Nothing else will do. And he applies the same meticulous technique to his work. It must be the best, or else. Occasionally, he plugged another composer's number, but he had to know all about it. His crack arranger wrote a song, and under the Duke's guidance, it became a hit. His orchestrator was Billy Strayhorn, who was really part of the Ellington organization. He composed the song, the Duke did the rest. It was the rhythmic Take the A Train.
you must take the A train. Get to Sugar Hill way up in Holland. If you miss the A train, find you missed the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on now, it's coming. Listen to those rails a-thrumming. All aboard, get on the A train. Soon you will be on Sugar Hill in Holland. Hurry, get on now, it's coming. Listen to those rails a-thrumming. All aboard, get on the A train. Soon you will be in Sugar Hill in Holland. All aboard, get on the A train. Soon you will be in Sugar Hill in Holland. All aboard, get on the A train. Soon you will be in Sugar Hill in Holland.
This dynamic ball of energy is always doing something. His royalties have made him a wealthy man, but despite the fact that he could easily retire, it's the last thing he thinks of. He's never happy unless he's flat out with engagements which take him all over the USA. Finally, he has written
over 1,000 songs.
And his record sales have reached the staggering figure of over 21 million discs.
Which I must admit is mighty good going in anyone's language. So thanks, Edward Kennedy Ellington, alias the Duke. You've well and truly earned your place in our composers with a song in my heart. So to our closing Ellington hits. Don't get around much anymore, and ring them bells.
Mr. Saturday dance heard the crowd of the floor. Couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. Don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up memories? Been invited on days. Might have gone, but what for? Awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore.
Come on, Parsons, waiting.
Ring them bells.
No more hesitating.
Ring them bells.
You're my honey lamb and I'm your lucky boy.
Now we're celebrating.
Ring them bells.
Come on, Parsons, waiting. Ring them bells. No more hesitating. Ring them bells. You're my honey lamb and I'm your lucky boy. Now we're celebrating. Ring them bells.
And we reach the finale of still another composer who made his mark in the songwriting profession. The artists depicting the times and melodies of Duke Ellington were Don Moore, John Gray, Jill Warwick, Kenrick Hudson, Dale Fenton, Max Blake, Eula Parker's Parkettes, and Horry Dargy and his quartet. Your compere was John Moore. Orchestra and chorus under the baton of William Flynn. With a Song in My Heart was produced by Alfred Potter and scripted and directed by Jack O'Hagan.
With a song